For this cookie, we are going to start with our outline. And so this is basically going to be a little cookie that has 2 Easter eggs with a bunch of floral design around it. So I'm going to start by just outlining my Easter egg. So I've got an outline consistency here, and I'm just going to press down, apply pressure to my bag, and direct that line where I want it to go. Okay, now these eggs don't really have to be perfectly shaped because there's going to be a bunch of florals and things here at the bottom that are kind of covering up. So it's okay not to stress about that sometimes. And then the second egg is a little bit behind the first one. Oh, that we don't want. Okay. All right, we got 2 little eggs there. This one, I feel like I don't love the shape on this side, so I'm just gonna remove that and start that one over. Okay, we are gonna just let that outline dry really well before we flood them, because I have found, especially with cookies like these ones that have, these are a snickerdoodle, brown butter snickerdoodle cookie. And so they have this like cinnamon sugar topping on it. I find especially with those cookies, if I flood right away, it kind of lifts the outline. It's not quite as nice. So we're gonna let that sit and dry, and then we're gonna come back and flood it. So this is probably crusted over enough that I can flood here. So I'm gonna take my flood icing and I'm going to apply pressure to my piping bag and fill in the whole center of the egg. And then with my scribe, I am going to bring it towards the edges and also slightly on top of the edge. And I'm just using my scribe to pull some of the icing down toward the end here. All right. And now we're gonna let this crust over for 5 to 10 minutes before we do the egg beside it, so that we can keep some separation between those two. So while we are letting this crust over, we're gonna start doing some of the greenery. So I'm gonna be doing some pussy willow branches. So I have an outline consistency brown, and I am going to tap down to apply pressure. Tap down to apply pressure, lift and pull, and then tap down again at the end. And then I want to do the same thing over here. Sometimes it doesn't stick quite as well when you have the cinnamon sugar on top, but that's okay. We're gonna do one branch right here as well. And then we'll take an outline consistency in the color white. And we're going to squeeze and apply pressure while pulling slightly forward to create a oval-like poof. And I'm going to come on both sides of the branch. And take that paintbrush and press down any of the pointy bits. And then we're going to take our brown outline consistency and we're going to put a small area that comes up onto each of these little white poofs. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing to the other side. Then we will take a green in an outline consistency and we're going to add in some branches of leaves. And I'm just going to do this really simple. So we're just going to use outline consistency only. We're not going to be doing outline and flooding with this. Okay, so we got a couple branches there. And we're going to do exactly the same thing that we did for the pussy willow, where we're just going to apply pressure as we pull away. But in this case, we are going to keep that pointed shape on the end. So that our leaves look a little bit more defined on the ends. And then the opposite side of the branch. Okay. And then we'll come around to the other side. All right, so now that this side has crusted over, we can do the one right beside it. My kids are home from school now, so you might hear some chatter in the background of children. And we'll take that scribe and just once again bring the icing to the edge and just slightly on top of the edge. And then meet up with the other egg over here. And now we're going to let that crust over and then we're going to do a speckled design on top of it. All right, so we're gonna add some speckles to the eggs here. Don't mind my dishwasher in the background. So I've got just some white food coloring on a flat edged brush, and I'm just going to use my thumb and rub it along that brush, angled down towards the eggs, and add a little bit of a speckling effect. And if you want bigger speckles, you just have a wetter consistency. So if I add a little bit more water to that mixture, then I can get some of those bigger drops as well. And then we're gonna do the same thing with brown. So I'm just gonna clean that white off of my brush. And now I'm going to get some brown food coloring with some water on my brush and do that same process. And there we go. All right, so now that we're done the speckling, we're gonna do some of the florals. And I'm gonna be using a 101 tip. A Wilton 101 tip for the flowers. So there we go, Wilton, oh, that's not focused, but anyways, it's, where will it focus? Here, there we go. So you can see it's wider at the bottom, goes a little narrow at the top, and that is the Wilton 101. So whenever I'm using floral tips, I like to have a damp cloth nearby. I can just continually keep my tip cleaned off. And I've got two colors here because I was using both colors on the florals for the another cookie that I was doing, and I only have one 101 tip. So I'm gonna be flipping back and forth between I'm gonna take my Wilton 101 from that darker pink, and I'm putting it on this lighter pink now, and it still has that darker pink inside. And so you'll notice as we're doing this cookie, we'll get some transition in the color, like you can see on this cookie. And that's just because of going back and forth between the two colors with the same tip. If I didn't want that, I would clean my tip out in between, but I kind of like the way it looks to have that transition of the color, so we are going to keep it. And we're just gonna do a pretty simple, like five petaled floral here. So my wider end of my Wilton tip is gonna be toward the cookie. And I'm going to just apply pressure and come up like a little semicircle and back down, just like that. And I'm gonna turn my turntable and do the same thing. And sometimes you'll need to use your scribe to help manipulate the flower petal. I actually want that petal not laying flat against the cookie there, so I can put a leaf under it. All right. So now I'm going to take a paintbrush. This is just a dry brush, and I'm just going to kind of use it to help shape my little flower. That's good there. Okay, I want to use a Wilton 352 to add in some little leaves. So with the Wilton 352, this is the shape to it. You're gonna want to have this bottom point here against the cookie to get the shape of leaf that we're working with today. I want to come slightly under this floral petal, so I'm going to try and use my paintbrush just to lift that up so that my tip can get in there. I'm going to put that bottom point against my cookie, and I'm going to squeeze and apply pressure. And as I apply pressure, I'm going to do a bit of a back and forth motion while pulling away, and then just release pressure. And so the size of the leaf just depends on how long you are applying pressure for and holding it down. I'm going to put another smaller one right there. And then let's do another flower. Oh, actually, we'll do the center. So I've got a brown in an outline consistency here. And I'm gonna just do some little beads in the middle of the flower. And then I'm gonna do this black outline consistency in there as well. Sorry, my phone keeps going. So we'll just use a little bit of this black there as well. Perfect. And okay, let's do the next flower. So I'm going to use the same color with that 101. We might start to notice the change in the color of the flower this time. We'll see. So a little semicircle and down. Out and away, and then back to the center. Out and away, and then back to the center. And one more petal. And we'll use our dry paintbrush to help us manipulate those petals how we want them. Again, I'm going to try and lift this up so that I can get under it with the leaf tip. And now I will grab my Wilton 352 again. And we will add in some of those little leaves coming out from, I want to get a little bit further under this one. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to pinch that. And we will lift this petal a little bit and come in under there with another leaf. So the more of those kind of back and forth movements you get, you'll get a little bit more rippling as you're pulling away. All right, we'll do our little dots in our cookie, or in the center of our flower. And the black. And then I want to add some of these smaller little flowers. So we're going to use the exact same tip, the Wilton 101. We're going to have the wide end of the tip toward our body and the narrow end away from us. And we are just going to do a little tiny sort of semicircle. And now we're going to angle the narrow end closer to us. So it was facing away from us. We're going to angle it up closer to us. Still the wide end against the cookie. And then come down toward the cookie. We'll use our paintbrush to help manipulate those petals. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. So little circle, semicircle, and then angling slightly more toward us and coming down toward the cookie. And I like to use my brush to sort of pull the top portion of this floral tip outward. And then we'll take a dark color and we'll just add some little dots on the inside. And I've got a green in my outline consistency here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of a kind of leafy thing coming up onto those. And now we're gonna take the brown outline consistency and we're going to add in some little twigs of either berries or small flowers. To fill in some of this blank space in here. And I like to come up onto the egg a little bit. I might do one coming out this way as well. Okay. This is a purple outline consistency icing that we're going to use to just do little round dots. All right, I'm just going to put a few little dots here. Okay, and there we go. So if you like these videos, I would love for you to subscribe, and there will be many more to come.